That's right. They demanded strong leadership, so they put me in charge.
That's wild. Well, where's Buttercup?
She melted into a cup of butter, and I used her in a Belgian waffle with walnuts and bananas, and plenty of maple syrup.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense.
Have you ever heard of this book called The Art of Worldly Wisdom?
It sounds familiar.
It's by Baltasar Gracian. It's called A Pocket Oracle.
This is not the real Church of Buttercup. You know how I know?
Oh.
Because I already joined her house.
Mm-hmm.
So you've made another one.
Yeah, I cloned it. This is my Church of Buttercup.
You're awful. You're awful.
Why am I awful? Who cares? This is a waste of time. This is like for, people who didn't make it in the real world. This is a garbage dump.
Why did you do that?
I'm a garbage collector. I go around Clown House and I collect garbage.
You're nuts.
It's true. That's what I do. I'm a garbage man. Most people don't know that about me, but I'm just a humble garbage man.
You know what I think is amazing about you? You don't need anyone else to have a party. You'll have a party all by yourself. You'll enjoy yourself, amuse yourself. You don't need others.
It's true. I wouldn't go sit in a movie theater by myself because that's really boring, but I will come here and read a book by myself because, I'm telling you, I like to listen to myself reading the books because do you know what the 1530 rule is? You say 1,500 words a day and you listen to 3,000 words a day. And it's my theory that people who actually make it in this world and who are very smart throughout their life, they've controlled the 1,500 words and they've controlled the 3,000 words. Thus, they become intelligent and, hyper focused on a certain thing, whether it's the law or medicine. So anyways, that's how you become successful because life is all communication and people on this app just want to have frivolous, meaningless, conversations with no real intelligence, just a lot of drama, as if it actually is a theatrical stage. Because you could come on here and cry and complain about 100 different topics, but what did you actually do? You didn't do anything. It just goes off into an unrecorded room. Maybe some trash collector collected it and put it in the dump, but you'd have to go into the dump to find what I collected and then bring it back to Clubhouse to repolish the garbage. It's all garbage in, garbage out.
Hold on, I'm gonna ping Marius.
You know what I don't understand in the Palestinian conflict? Why haven't we heard one Palestinian speaking Arabic that he needed a translator? And was like, I don't speak English. I need a translator. And then we got the translator. Okay, this is the Art of Worldly Wisdom. This is the dust jacket. It says, use human means as though divine ones did not exist, and use divine means as though there were no human ones. This is the dust jacket. Throughout the centuries, mankind has produced three great timeless wisdom books: Machiavelli's The Prince, Sun Tzu's The Art of War, and Baltasar Gracian's The Art of Worldly Wisdom, a pocket oracle. And yet until now, Gracian's astonishing classic has been largely unavailable to modern readers. The Art of Worldly Wisdom was written 300 years ago by one of Spain's greatest writers, a worldly Jesuit scholar and keen observer of many in positions of power.
There are other inventors in between. Townsend Brown invents anti-gravity technology. He runs into all kinds of bad luck. All these research stolen, they're broken in. They're carrying guns. They're threatened. They're disappearing.
What were you reading?
I'm reading a book called The Art of Worldly Wisdom.
Oh, that's what you're reading from.
That was the dust jacket. This is the introduction. The Art of Worldly Wisdom, a Pocket Oracle, is a book of strategies for knowing, judging, and acting, for making one's way in the world and achieving distinction and perfection. It is a collection of 300 aphorisms, too delicious not to share with friends and colleagues, too penetrating not to hide from enemies and rivals. Its ideal reader is someone whose daily occupation involves dealing with others, discovering their intentions, winning their favor and friendship, or, on the other hand, defeating their designs and checkmating their will. Like all aphorisms, these are meant to be read slowly, a few at a time. The Pocket Oracle revolves around a duality.
I've read this.
You read this book?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, you may have read it, but you can't actually recall anything from the book that you read.
Probably not.
So that's why you have to read every day, because that's my point, is like coming to Clubhouse is like not reading. And it's better to just read than it is to do this app. This app is like a brain drain. It's like a hypnosis app with, low frequency, low vibration people who will never solve anything. They're just complainers in a complainium or a garbage dump. That's it. There's like, how many times are you going to keep going back to the garbage dump? It's crazy.
Good point.
It's better to I don't even want to drive to the garbage dump. That's the worst thing about having to take a dump is you got to drive really far to the dump. And then sometimes you got to pay just to get into the dump. But there are people on this app that want to go to the dump every day and then go to the dump after the dump closes to bring back more garbage. But see, the thing about bringing a gem like this to the garbage dump is some people might enjoy it. The Pocket Oracle revolves around a duality dear to the 17th century and to our own. It sees life as warfare, involving both being and seeming, both appearance and reality. It provides advice not only for modern image makers and spin doctors, this is a good book, but also for the candid, for those who insist that substance, not image, is what really matters. Do, but also seem, is Gracian's pithy advice, aphorism 130. It assumes that good people are those most easily duped, sheep in the midst of wolves, and it teaches us to temper the innocence of the dove with the wisdom of the serpent, governing ourselves according to the way people are rather than the way they would like to be or to appear. I mean, Sally, you spend a lot of time influencing, talking about this topic, talking about that topic. But what if you're not really that effective and there was a book that could amplify your effectiveness, tenfold, 100-fold? But the question is, do you think that, books like this can make you maybe, more wicked and effective? Like, what if part of effectiveness is wickedness? Meaning that, you present as being this sweet, lovable, affable, beautiful woman, but what if you could be more effective, but you were more wicked in the process? What if wisdom can make you, more effective, but nastier? To some people, not to all people, but it depends on what you're trying to achieve. But anyways, this is a reading room because we do the opposite of what Buttercup does in her church. We actually read books. We don't just spout propaganda, lies, misinformation, disinformation, and scream genocide and occupation and white structural racism and neocolonialism and security and illegal security checkpoints and checkpoints. We read books. Okay. This is still the introduction. The oracle has spoken in many tongues, has been heard with admiration and greeted with praise. It was imitated by Le Rochefoucauld, who learned of it in the salon of his friend M. de Sable, valued by writers as diverse as Joseph Addison and Friedrich Nietzsche, and lovingly translated into German by Arthur Schopenhauer. Nietzsche observed that Europe has never produced anything finer or more complicated in matters of moral subtlety. And Schopenhauer believed the oracle absolutely unique. It teaches the art which all would fain practice, and is therefore a book for everyone, but it is especially fitted to be the manual of those who live in the great world, and peculiarly of young people who wish to prosper in that world. To them it gives at once and beforehand that teaching which they could otherwise only obtain through long experience. To read it once through is obviously not enough. Welcome, Honey Badger. It is a book made for constant use as occasion serves, in short, to be a companion for life. What sort of person composed these strategies for perfection? The voice that emerges from the oracle is not, as some have argued, an entirely cynical Machiavellian one. Balthasar Gracian, 1601 to 1658, a worldly Jesuit priest, felt undying hatred for human folly. But the oracle insists on the perfectibility of man and the capacity of goodness, assisted by art to triumph over evil. It is true that in the oracle, perfection depends not upon religious revelation. God appears only rarely in these pages, but upon human resources and industry, attentiveness, mastery of one's emotions, self-knowledge, and other forms of prudence. There is, however, nothing irreligious or overly pessimistic about this emphasis on human reason. It was, after all, from St. Ignatius of Loyola, the founder of his order, that Gracian learned aphorism 251. Use human means as though divine ones didn't exist, and divine means as though there were no human ones. In the oracle, Gracian has all but ignored divine means, aware of Ignatius's advice and of the Spanish proverb it elaborates on. Pray to God, but hammer away. Gracian assumes without saying so that God helps those who help themselves. What is disconcertingly modern about this book is the apparent subordination of ethics to strategy, moral generalizations, the immutable hard rules of ethics yield in these pages to the conviction that to reach perfection, one must adapt to circumstance. To achieve Gracian's prudencia, wisdom or prudence, one avoids generalities, among them generalizations about morals. The oracle bids us to speak the truth, but to administer it skillfully, with a touch of artifice. The most practical sort of knowledge lies in dissimulation. We are to be learned with the learned, saintly with the saints, observe others' temperaments, and adapt ourselves accordingly. The wise are as mutable as Proteus, but even mutability and dissimulation must not harden into guiding principles. Gracian's insistence on adaptability, on metamorphosis, and camouflage reveals an Italian philosopher reminds us poignant sense of man's fragility and vulnerability. Nor can Gracian be accused of indifference to the spiritual or material well-being of others. Avoid fools, he tells us repeatedly, but beyond that, his injunctions are clear. Speak what is very good. Do what is very honorable. Know how to do good, little by little, with moderation. Love, if you would be loved. Friendship is a recurrent theme, both here and in Gracian's other works, as it was in his life, and so is conversation. As for the pessimism of which he is often accused, the concept is anachronistic. But many of us call optimism a belief that people are basically good and that things will turn out for the best. Gracian would have regarded as a hoax of the imagination. Hope is a great falsifier. Let good judgment keep her in check. Like other moralists of his age, from Francis Bacon and Jeremy Taylor to Francisco de Quevedo, Gracian labored painfully toward desengaño, the state of total disenchantment or disillusionment, in which one gains control of one's hopes and fears, overcomes deceitful appearances and vain expectations, and weans oneself from false worldly values. Much of the oracle, with its insistence on curbing the imagination, concerns strategies for reaching that bittersweet beatitude. To entertain no illusions about things or people was a large part of wisdom. The modern notions of pessimism and optimism seem shallow in comparison. Optimism would have seemed out of place anyway in 17th century Spain, the Spain of Velázquez and Zurbarán, kingdom in social turmoil and political decline. Like Quevedo, Gracian had the sense that his country's moral strength was waning. From time to time we hear a melancholy, unmistakably elegiac sigh. Good conduct has departed. Debts of gratitude now go unpaid. Few people give others the treatment they deserve. Only strategy, incessant plotting against one's own weaknesses and those of others, allow us to push forward to perfection. It takes more to make one sage today than it did to make 7 of Greece. What of Gracian's own life? His own struggle toward worldly wisdom. It was not, as so many have written, an entirely uneventful one. He was born in 1601 in Belmont, a village in Aragon, not far from the birthplace of the great Latin satirist Martial, a coincidence which must have delighted him. Gracian's allegorical novel, El Criticón, or The Master Critic, is one of the most forceful satires ever written by a Spaniard. As an adolescent, he studied philosophy and letters in Toledo and Zaragoza, and in 1619, at the age of 18, entered the novitiate of the Jesuit order. For the remaining 50 years of his life, Gracian labored as chaplain and confessor, preacher, professor, and administrator. He was rector and vice-rector of several Jesuit colleges. Though he never held an important position in public life, he kept company with those who did, and his aphorisms draw on long and careful observation of human behavior, both in peace and in warfare. As a young man, he served as confessor of the Viceroy of Aragon, the Neapolitan aristocrat Francesco Maria Carafa, accompanying him on several occasions to the court. And in 1646, in the bleakest days of the revolt of Catalonia, Gracian served as chaplain of the royal armies that freed the Aragonese city of Lerida from the French. The only chaplain who neither fell ill nor was captured, Gracian went bravely to the front lines, and he says proudly in a letter, exhorted the troops as they went into battle. The soldiers hailed him, he says, as El Padre de la Victoria. When he extols friendship as a pleasant way to acquire learning, he is thinking, no doubt, of blissful hours spent in the salon and library of his friend and protector, Vincenzo Juan de la Stanosa, 6 years younger than he, one of the wealthiest and most learned of the 17th century's Spanish humanists. La Stanosa was patron of an important literary and cultural athenaeum, a true microcosm of all human learning, and it would be difficult to exaggerate his importance to Gracian. Gracian's first assignment after he took his vows was to the Jesuit college at Huesca, an ancient town to the northeast of Zaragoza. From the college it was only a few tempting steps to the La Stanosa mansion, an astoundingly rich Baroque museum of books and manuscripts, paintings, Titian, Dora, Tintoretto, Ribera, sculpture, and objects of classical antiquity. There were, La Stanosa once wrote, more than 8,000 coins and medals of Greek and Roman emperors, and 2,000 cameos and stones from ancient rings. La Stanosa was especially proud of his library, his collection of armor, and his botanical gardens, whose rare plants, trees, and shrubs were cared for by 8 French gardeners, several of whom had held that post for more than half a century. There was even a small zoological garden and 4 caves behind strong bars with a tiger, a leopard, a bear, and a lion. In a cage, 2 voracious ostriches. To La Stanosa's literary and cultural treasures, Gracian was granted access, an incalculable boon for one who thirsted for aesthetic perfection and infallible taste, and hungered to be vulgar in nothing. It was La Stanosa who paid for the publication of several of Gracian's books, and many of the aphorisms of the art of worldly wisdom may have been tried out for the first time on listeners in his salon. The records of the Jesuits give us a glimpse of Gracian as priest and administrator, and he seems less stern, less forbidding in those pages than in these. In 1637, for example, he is rebuked for having been too lenient toward a fellow Jesuit guilty of weakness, flaqueza, with the opposite sex. A year later, the general of the Jesuit order suggests from Rome that Padre Gracian be reassigned because he is a cross and a burden to his superiors, a source of problems and disturbances, and because, displaying little prudence, he has been caring for the child of one who has left the order, asking for money to support him, and also because he has published a book under the name of a brother of his. The book alluded to his first El Héroe, the hero, 1637, an imaginary portrait of the perfect leader. Other treatises followed, most of them published, as the oracle was, under the same pseudonym, Lorenzo Gracian, without permission from the Jesuit order El Politico, 1640, in which he ponders the political and moral greatness of King Ferdinand. Arte de Ingenio, a treatise on style and poetic conceit, with examples from a multitude of classical and Spanish authors. El Discreto, 1646, translated into English in 1730, as The Complete Gentleman, or a description of the several qualifications, both natural and acquired, that are necessary to form a great man, a book in the tradition of Castiglione's courtier. Over the years, Gracian was warned repeatedly not to publish his works without permission. So troubling was his continual disobedience that when he published the 3rd and final volume of his masterpiece, El Criticon, a vast satirical allegory of human existence, he was removed from his chair of sacred scripture in Zaragoza and exiled to the country town where he died. From Rome came instructions to watch him closely, to observe his hands, to visit his room from time to time, and look over his papers. Were he to write anything against the Jesuits, he was to be locked up and forbidden the use of paper, pen, and ink. Not that his writings were regarded as heretical. It was somewhat unseemly for a Jesuit priest to write so brilliantly on worldly wisdom and on political behavior. But the Jesuits never accused Gracian of contradicting Catholic doctrine. What rankled his superiors was his persistent disobedience and perhaps his nonchalance. I am prohibited from publishing, he writes in 1653, and have no lack of envious people. But I bear it all patiently, and am still able to eat lunch and dinner, to sleep, etc. Gracian's enemies cruelly exploited his problems with his superiors, and some of their allegations are delightful. In a sermon delivered in Valencia, Gracian is said to have told his listeners that he was reading from a letter he had just received from hell. No doubt he was a difficult person, with a large dose of the stubbornness for which the Aragonese are famous. The Jesuits left a record of his prevailing humorous biliosus melancholicus in 1628, cholericus biliosus, 1651, and the year of his death, Complexio Cholerico. The author of The Art of Worldly Wisdom, et Pei unto Prudence, is said to possess ingenium bonum, good intelligence. But after 1645, his powers of judgment, eudicium, his prudence and his experience of things are found less than normal, or barely satisfactory. Eudicium infra mediocritatum, 1651. Eudicium mediocre, prudentia non multa, experientia rerum mediocri, 1655, where his fellow Jesuits write, Gracian may have shown poor judgment in publishing almost all of his works without authorization, but time acquitted him. His works emerged unscathed, he won immortality, and no one remembers his accusers. Even Gracian's style roused animosity, and it continues to do so among those who have no time for brevity. He is one of the most laconic writers of the 17th century, a period when European humanists, heeding justice, Lipsius, call for brevity, delighted in Seneca and Tacitus, and lost the taste for copious Cicero. Many of Gracian's stylistic habits are easy to recognize even in translation. Antithesis and paradox, the constant use of ellipses, the concentration of meaning brought about by punning and other sorts of wordplay, the lack of connective tissue between one sentence, one point, and another. Notice that there is often an abrupt transition between aphorism and commentary, and that the commentaries themselves are often seem disjointed and fragmentary. His traits are more than idiosyncrasies. They arise from a vision of human nature. The stylistic values reflected in these pages, wit, intensity, conscience, subtlety, are also rules for wise living. For Gracian, living is a high art. Aesthetic strategies correspond to moral ones. In other words, the author's relations with the readers are analogous to the reader's relations to those around him. The author fences with the reader, withholds his meaning, disguises his intentions, avoids putting all of his cards on the table, keeps matters in suspense, and uses obscurity to awaken admiration and reverence, the reverence due an oracle. The truth that matters most to us, Gracian writes self-reflectively, are always half-spoken, fully understood only by the prudent. Secrecy has the feel of divinity. Gracian does not mingle with the common reader, does not court his affection. He knows that affection spoils veneration, and that familiarity breeds contempt. He does not want his writing and thinking to please the crowd. He would have agreed with Louis de Gongora, Spain's great Baroque poet, who defended his solitudes with these contemptuous words. It has been a matter of honor to me to make myself obscure to the ignorant, for that is what distinguishes the learned, to speak in a style that seems Greek to the ignorant, for precious pearls should not be cast before swine. Despite Gracian's authorial aloofness, the oracle has delighted many thousands of readers. Perhaps that aloofness is a strategy for success. Another trick, he writes, is to offer something only to those in the know, for everyone believes himself an expert. The person who isn't will want to be one. Never praise things for being easy or common. You'll make them seem vulgar and facile. Everybody goes for something unique. As with Gongora, it is pleasant to divine Gracian's meaning, lingering over a few aphorisms at a time. No doubt the ellipses and zigzags of his thought have contributed to the oracle's lasting appeal. Don't express your ideas too clearly. To be valued, things must be difficult. If they can't understand you, people will think more highly of you. The aphorisms are not arranged as a system. The Spanish critic Gonzalo Subejano once observed that they come upon us with the chaos of life itself, reproducing the chaotic randomness of pure experience. This is surely the best of authorial defenses. It is easy to kill the bird that flies in a straight line, but not the one that changes its line of flight. Not that the book itself is organized chaotically. Gracian's approach is dialectical. This happens with popular proverbs, and one aphorism offsets another, contradicting or complementing it, and moral phenomena are viewed from different perspectives. One fragment tells us how to perform a maneuver, another how to defend ourselves from it. As for brevity, it too is both an aesthetic ideal and a strategy for survival. Say less, and you, as author or reader, will be less likely to be discovered, contradicted, proven wrong. Speak as though you were writing your testament. The fewer words, the fewer lawsuits. And good things, if brief, are twice good. True, certainly, of translators' prefaces. This translation follows upon 7 previous English versions, only 2 of which I've been able to consult. The oracle's translators, one for each day of the week, are as follows. Anonymous, 1685. John J. Savage, 1702. Joseph Jacobs, 1892. Martin Fisher, 1934. Otto Eisenschimmel, 1947. L.B. Walton, 1953, and Lawrence C. Lockley, 1967. To the Jacobs translation, I have occasionally gone for help, not with questions about the meaning, but looking for solutions to Gracian's puns. You may think you'll share pairs, but you'll share only the pairings, was the clever way Jacobs rendered an untranslatable sentence about peras, pears, and piedras, stones, and I've gladly picked up those peelings. Unlike that of Jacobs, this translation draws on the splendid critical edition of Miguel Romero Navarro, based on the only extant copy of the first edition, Huesca, 1647. Romero Navarro sensed that his annotations would guide future translators, and that providence is cause for deep gratitude. I am grateful also to Harriet Rubin of Doubleday Currency, an editor of uncommon taste, who believed that Gracian's delightful oracle belongs in the pockets and hearts of contemporary readers. Christopher Morer, Vanderbilt University, May of 1991. The Art of Worldly Wisdom. All has reached perfection. Becoming a true person is the greatest perfection of all. It takes more to make one sage today than it did to make the 7 of Greece. You need more resources to deal with a single person these days than with an entire nation in times past. Subnote: for Gracian, not everyone is a true persona. One becomes a person, and not merely a man or woman, by striving for moral perfection. Number two, character and intelligence. The poles your talent spins on, displaying your gifts. One without the other brings only half of success. It isn't enough to be intelligent. You must also have the right character. The fool fails by behaving without regard to his condition, position, origin, or friendships. Keep matters in suspense. Successes that are novel win admiration. Being too obvious is neither useful nor tasteful. By not declaring yourself immediately, you will keep people guessing, especially if your position is important enough to awaken expectations. Mystery, by its very arcaneness, causes veneration. Even when revealing yourself, avoid total frankness, and don't let everyone look inside you. Cautious silence is where prudence takes refuge. Once declared, resolutions are never esteemed, and they lie open to criticism. If they turn out badly, you will be twice unfortunate. If you want people to watch and wait on you, imitate the divinity. Knowledge and courage take turns at greatness because they are immortal. They can make you so. You are as much as you know. And if you are wise, you can do anything. The uninformed person is a dark world unto himself. Judgment and strength, eyes and hands. Without courage, wisdom bears no fruit. Make people depend on you. God is made not by adorning the statue, but by adoring it. He who is truly shrewd would rather have people need him than thank him. Vulgar gratitude is worth less than polite hope. For hope remembers and gratitude forgets. You will get more from dependence than from courtesy. He who has already drunk turns his back on the well, and the orange already squeezed turns from gold into mud. When there is no longer dependence, good manners disappear, and so does esteem. The most important lesson experience teaches is to maintain dependence and entertain it without satisfying it. This can hold even a king, but don't carry it too far, leading others astray by your silence or making their ills incurable for your own good. Reach perfection. No one is born that way. Perfect yourself daily, both personally and professionally, until you become a consummate being, rounding off your gifts and reaching eminence. Signs of the perfect person. elevated taste, a pure intelligence, a clear will, ripeness of judgment. Some people are never complete and are always lacking something. Others take a long time to form themselves. The consummate person, wise in speech, prudent in deeds, is admitted to and even desired by the singular society of the discreet. Don't outshine your boss. Being defeated is hateful, and besting one's boss is either foolish or fatal. Superiority is always odious, especially to superiors and sovereigns. The common sort of advantages can be cautiously hidden, as beauty is hidden with a touch of artful neglect. Most people do not mind being surpassed in good fortune, character, or temperament, but no one, especially not a sovereign, likes to be surpassed in intelligence. For this is the king of attributes, and any crime against it is lèse-majesté. Sovereigns want to be so in what is most important. Princes like to be helped, but not surpassed. When you counsel someone, you should appear to be reminding him of something he had forgotten, not of the light he was unable to see. It is the stars who teach us this subtlety. They are brilliant suns, but they never dare to outshine the sun. Not to be swayed by passions, the highest spiritual quality of all. Let your superiority keep you from succumbing to vulgar, passing impressions. No mastery is greater than mastering yourself and your own passions. It is a triumph of the will. Even when passion affects your person, don't let it affect your position. Least of all when the position is an important one. This is a wise way to avoid trouble and a shortcut to the esteem of others. Avoid the defects of your country. Water shares the good and bad qualities of the beds through which it runs. People share those of the region where they are born. Some owe more than others to the mother country or city, for they were born under favorable skies. No country, not even the most refined, has ever escaped some innate defect or other, and these weaknesses are seized on by neighboring countries as defense or consolation. It is a triumph to correct, or at least dissimulate, such national faults. By doing so, you will be revered as unique among your people, for what is least expected is most valued. Other defects are caused by one's lineage, condition, occupation, and by the times. If all these defects come together in one person, and no care is taken to foresee and correct them, they produce an intolerable monster. Fame and fortune. One is inconstant, the other is firm. The latter helps us live, the former helps us latter. Fortune, against envy, fame against oblivion. You can wish for fortune, sometimes nurture it with your efforts, but all fame requires constant work. A desire for renown is born from strength and vigor. Fame has always been the sister of giants. It always goes to extremes, monsters or prodigies, abomination or applause. Associate with those you can learn from. Let friendly relations be a school of erudition, and conversation refine teaching. Make your friends your teachers. Blend the usefulness of learning with the pleasure of conversation. Enjoy the company of people of understanding. What you say will be rewarded with applause. What you hear with learning. What draws us to others ordinarily is our own interest, and here that interest is ennobled. The prudent frequent the homes of courtly heroes, theaters of heroism, not palaces of vanity. Some are renowned for their learning and good judgment, oracles of all greatness through example and friendship. Those who accompany them form a courtly academy of gallant discretion and wisdom. Nature and art, material and labor, all beauty requires help. Perfection turns into barbarism unless ennobled by artifice. Artifice rescues the bad and perfects the good. Nature often lets us down when we most need her. Let us turn to art. The best disposition is unrefined without her. And perfection is only half itself without culture. People seem rough and rude without artifice. Perfection requires polish. Act on the intentions of others, their ulterior and superior motives. Man's life on earth is a militia against malicia, or malice. Cunning arms itself with strategies of intention. It never does what it indicates. It takes aim deceptively, feints nonchalantly in the air and delivers its blow, acting upon unforeseen reality with attentive dissimulation. To win the attention and confidence of others, it hints at its intention. But immediately it turns against that intention and conquers through surprise. The penetrating intelligence heads off cunning with close observation, ambushes it with caution, understands the opposite of what cunning wanted it to understand, and immediately identifies false intentions. Intelligence allows the first intention to pass by and awaits the second one, and even the third. Simulation grows even greater, seeing that its guile has been penetrated, and tries to deceive by telling the truth. Changing strategies. It beguiles us with its apparent lack of guile. It bases its cunning on the greatest candor. But observation comes forward, sees through all this, discovers the shadows that are cloaked in light. It deciphers intention, which is most hidden when most simple. Thus does the cunning of Python struggle against the candor of the penetrating rays of Apollo. Subnote the huge serpent killed by Apollo at the foot of Parnassus. Number 14, both reality and manner. Substance is not stance enough. You must also heed circumstance. The wrong manner turns everything sour, even justice and reason. The right one makes up for everything. It turns a no golden, sweetens truth, and makes even old age look pretty. The how of things is very important, and a pleasant manner captures the affection of others. A bel portarse is precious in life. Speak and act well, and you will get out of any difficult situation. Surround yourself with auxiliary wits. Things turn out well for the powerful when they are surrounded by people of great understanding who can get them out of the tight situations where their ignorance has placed them and take their place in battling difficulty. It is singular greatness to use wise people, better than the barbaric taste of Tigranes. Subnote, King of Armenia, 1st century BC, who conquered Parthia and often appeared in public attended by the princes he had defeated, who wanted to enslave the kings he conquered. This is a new way of mastering others in what matters most in life. Skillfully make servants of those whom nature made superior. We have little to live and much to know, and you cannot live if you do not know. It takes uncommon skill to study and learn without effort, to study much through many, and know more than all of them together. Do this, and you will go to a gathering and speak for many. You will speak for as many sages as counseled you, and will win fame as an oracle, thanks to the sweat of others. Choose a subject, and let those around you serve up quintessential knowledge. If you can make knowledge your servant, make it your friend. Knowledge and honorable intentions ensure that your success will bear fruit. When understanding marries bad intention, it isn't wedlock but monstrous rape. Malevolence poisons perfection. When abetted by knowledge, it corrupts even more subtly. Superior talents given to baseness come to a bad end. Knowledge without judgment is double madness. Keep changing your style of doing things. Vary your methods. This will confuse people, especially your rivals, and awaken their curiosity and attention. If you always act on your first intention, others will foresee it and thwart it. It is easy to kill the bird that flies in a straight line, but not one that changes its line of flight. Don't always act on your second intention either. Do something twice, and others will discover the ruse. Malice is ready to pounce on you. You need a good deal of subtlety to outwit it. The consummate player never moves the piece of his opponent expects him to, and less still the piece he wants him to move. Application and capacity. Eminence requires both. When both are present, eminence outdoes itself. The mediocre people who apply themselves go further than the superior people who don't. Work makes worth. You purchase reputation with it. Some people are unable to apply themselves to even the simplest tasks. Application depends almost always on temperament. It is all right to be mediocre at an unimportant job. You can excuse yourself by saying you were cut out for nobler things, but to be mediocre at the lowest of jobs, rather than excellent at the highest, has no excuse at all. Both art and nature are needed, and application makes them complete. When you start something, don't raise other people's expectations. What is highly praised seldom measures up to expectations. What is highly praised seldom measures up to expectations. Reality never catches up to imagination. It is easy to imagine something is perfect and difficult to achieve it. Imagination marries desire and conceives much more than things really are. No matter how excellent something is, it never satisfies our preconceptions. The imagination feels cheated, and excellent leads more often to disappointment than to admiration. Hope is a great falsifier. Let good judgment bridle her so that enjoyment will surpass desire. Honorable beginnings should serve to awaken curiosity, not to heighten people's expectations. We are much better off when reality surpasses our expectations, and something turns out better than we thought it would. This rule does not hold true for bad things. When an evil has been exaggerated, its reality makes people applaud. What was feared as ruinous comes to seem tolerable. A person born in the right age, people of truly rare eminence, depend on the times. Not all of them had the times they deserved, and many who did were unable to take advantage of them. Some were worthy of better times, for not all goodness triumphs always. Things have their seasons, and even certain kinds of eminence go in and out of style, but wisdom has an advantage. She is eternal. If this is not her century, many others will be. The art of success. Good fortune has its rules, and to the wise not everything depends upon chance. Fortune is helped along by effort. Some people confidently approach the door of fortune, and wait for her to go to work. Others are more sensible. They stride through that door with a prudent sort of boldness, on the wings of their courage and virtue. Audacity spies luck and flatters it into effectiveness. But the real philosopher has only one plan of action: virtue and prudence. For the only good and bad fortune lie in prudence or rashness. Be well informed. The discreet arm themselves with a store of courtly, tasteful learning, not vulgar gossip, but a practical knowledge of current affairs. They salt their speech with witticisms and their actions with gallantry, and know how to do so at the right moment. Advice is sometimes transmitted more successfully through a joke than through grave teachings. The wisdom passed along in conversation has meant more to some than the 7 arts, no matter how liberal. Don't have a single imperfection. Few people live without some moral flaw or character defect, and they give in to it when it would be easy to cure. The prudence of others is grieved to see a universal, sublime talent threatened by a small defect. A single cloud eclipses the sun. Defects are moles on the face of reputation. and malevolence is good at noticing them. It takes supreme skill to turn them into beauty marks. Caesar covered his defects with laurels. Subnote, he hid his baldness under a crown of laurels.
Say, promise me you'll stay like this. You don't rush to prove you're right. You just listen through the fight. You choose truth even when it stings. Small, good thought. Slow breath in, count it, feel it rise. Little storm in my chest, soft rain in my eyes. Let it out, like laying down stones. Every fear you fall, leaving your home. In 4-4, hold the sky out for 6, let it fly. Every time you breathe, you come back to life. Perfect on the exhale, perfect when you shake. Every tiny fraction, part of what you make. White page, coffee ring, highlighters in a perfect roll. Tiny lips pinned above the window, every thought lined up just so. I taste the gorgeous in my heart, measure in the distance. White page, coffee ring, halo, highlighters in a perfect row. Tiny lips pinned above the window, every thought lined up just so. I chase the golden red shields in my heart, measuring the distance between falling and not straight. You measure your thoughts like lines on a page. Straight edges, sharp corner. Is every doubt in a cage? Polished replies tucked under your tongue. blade, straight edges, sharp corners, every doubt in a cage, polished replies tucked under your tongue. You practice compassion till your heartbeat runs, chasing that symmetry inside. Every angle in your head, you want the beauty and the justice, the steady hand and the open mind. You're drawing halos on your only action, looking for flaws in the humankind. Aesthetic perfection of mind. Catalogs in like stones in a jar. Forgiveness for others is easier by far. You iron your conscience flat on the floor, but all of the creases say you're something more. Chasing that symmetry inside. Every angle in your head, you want the beauty and the justice, the steady hand and the open mind. You're drawing halos on your own action, looking for flaws in the humankind. What if the grace is in every fracture, every scar, a secret design? What if the truth is kinder than standards you carved in glass across your chasing the symmetry inside. Every angle in your head, you want the beauty and the justice, the steady hand and the open mind. You're drawing halos on your own action, learning to love what you used to hide. You speak in angles, sharp little questions, cut through the chaos like it's paper in your hands. You read my patterns, call out my shadows, hold up a mirror till I finally understand. Teach me wisdom, Just stand tight, hold my shaking heart like it's made of light. Golden vibes, you quiet, steady. You stay on. You're speaking angles, sharp little questions. Cut through the chaos like it's paper in your hands. You read my patterns, caught out my shadows. Hold up a mirror till I finally understand. Teach me where you're still not just answers. Hold my shaking heart like it's made of light. Golden.
Danny!
Quiet, steady. You stay when I'm wrong and you stay when I'm right. This is more than just falling. It's a fire written deep in blood. You and me, one sickness, one story. Yeah. Intelligence and eternal love. You trace a circle on my wrist. Say, promise me you'll stay like this. I steady, never looking past. Slow words built to last.
Dr. Gruber! Okay, we're going to continue reading Balthasar Gracian. Temper your imagination. You must sometimes rein it in and sometimes encourage it. On imagination, all happiness depends. It should be governed by good sense. Sometimes it behaves like a tyrant. It isn't content to speculate, but swings into action, takes over your life, making it pleasant or unpleasant, making us unhappy or too satisfied with ourselves. To some, it shows only grief, for imagination is a homespun henchman of fools. To others, it promises happiness and adventure, gaiety and giddiness. It can do all this as long as it remains unchecked by prudence and common sense. Know how to take a hint. Knowing how to reason was once the art of arts. It is no longer enough. One must also be a diviner, especially in matters where you can easily be deceived. You will never be intelligent unless you know how to take a hint. Some people are diviners of the heart and sharp-eyed lynxes of others' intentions. The truths that matter most to us are always have spoken, fully understood only by the prudent. In matters that seem favorable, reign in your credulity. In those that seem hateful, give it the spur. Find each person's handle, his weak point. The art of moving people's wills involves more skill than determination. You must know how to get inside the other person. Each will has its own special object of delight. They vary according to taste. Everyone idolizes something. Some want to be well thought of. Others idolize profit. And most people idolize pleasure. The trick is to identify the idols that can set people in motion. It is like having the key to someone else's desires. Go for the prime mover, which isn't always something lofty and important. Usually it is something low, for the unruly outnumber the well-ruled. First size up someone's character, and then touch on his weak point. Tempt him with his particular pleasure, and you'll checkmate his will. Better to be intensive than extensive. Perfection isn't quantity, but quality. Very good things have always been small and rare. Muchness brings discredit. Even among men, the giants are usually the dwarfs. Some praise books for their girth, as though they were written to exercise our arms, not our wits. Extension alone can never be more than mediocre, and the universal men who want to be in on everything are often in on nothing. Intensity leads to eminence, and even in matters of great importance, fame. Be vulgar in nothing, certainly not in your taste. What a wise person it was who did not want his things to please the many. The discreet never gorge themselves on vulgar applause. Some people are such puffed up chameleons of popularity. Subnote, a symbol of vanity, the chameleon was thought to live on air. That they enjoy the breath of the crowd more than the gentle breezes of Apollo. It's not an understanding. Take no pleasure in the miracles of the many. They are nothing but quackery. The crowd admires common foolishness and places no stock in excellent counsel. Be righteous and firm, side with reason, and do this so steadily that neither vulgar passion nor tyrannical violence will make you stray from it. But where will we find such a phoenix of equity? Few are devoted to righteousness. Many celebrate her, but few visit her. Some follow her until things get dangerous. In danger, the false disown her, and politicians cunningly disguise her. She is not afraid to set aside friendship, power, and even her own good, and this is when people disown her. Clever people spin subtle sophistries and speak of their laudable higher motives or reasons of security. But the truly faithful person considers deceit a sort of treason, is prouder to be steadfast than clever, and is always found on the side of truth. If he differs with others, it isn't because of any fickleness of his own, but because others have abandoned the truth. Don't occupy yourself with disreputable things, even less with chimerical ones that bring more scorn than renown. Caprice has founded many sects, and the sane person should flee from all of them. There are people with extravagant tastes who embrace anything wise people repudiate. They take pleasure in any sort of eccentricity. And although this makes them well known, they are more often laughed at than renowned. Even when pursuing wisdom, the prudent ought to shun affectation and public notice, especially in things that can make them look ridiculous. There is no use pointing out these pursuits one by one. Common ridicule has already done so. Know the fortunate in order to choose them, and the unfortunate in order to flee from them. Bad luck is usually brought on by stupidity, And among outcasts, nothing is so contagious. Never open the door to the least of evils, for many other, greater ones lurk outside. The trick is to know what cards to get rid of. The least card in the winning hand in front of you is more important than the best card in the losing hand you lay down. When in doubt, it is good to draw near the wise and the prudent. Sooner or later, they will be fortunate. Be known for pleasing others, especially if you govern them. It helps sovereigns to win the good graces of all. Ruling others has one advantage: you can do more good than anyone else. Friends are those who do friendly things. Some people are intent on not pleasing, not because it is burdensome, but simply out of nastiness. In everything they oppose the divine communicability. Know when to put something aside. One of life's greatest lessons lies in knowing how to refuse. And it is even more important to refuse yourself, both to business and to others. There are certain inessential activities, moths of precious time, and it is worse to busy yourself with the trivial than to do nothing. To be prudent, isn't enough not to meddle in other people's business. You must also keep them from meddling in yours. Don't belong so much to others that you stop belonging to yourself. You shouldn't abuse your friends or ask them for more than they give on their own initiative. All excess is a vice, especially in your dealings with others. With this judicious moderation, you will stay in the good graces of others and keep their esteem. And propriety, which is precious, will not be worn away. Retain your freedom to care passionately about the best. Never testify against your own good taste. Know your best quality, your outstanding gift. Cultivate it and nurture all the rest. All people could have achieved eminence in something if only they had known what they excelled at. Identify your king of attributes and apply it in double strength. Some excel at judgment and others at courage. Most people force their intelligence and achieve superiority in nothing. Their own passions blind and flatter them until too late. Time gives them the lie.
You measure your thoughts like lines on a page. Straight edges, sharp corner. Is every doubt in a cage? Polished street lights tucked under your tongue. You practice compassion until your heart runs. She's lost in the pretty silence. Every angle in your head tonight. You want the beauty and the justice to stay in the open light. You don't need halos on your own reflection. Look at the fullest of humankind. Aesthetic fiction line. You catalog sins like stones in a jar. Forgiveness forever It's easier by far. You're writing your conscience flat on the floor. But all of your creases say you're something wrong. She's an symmetry inside and separated in your headline. You want the beauty and the justice, the steady hand and the open mind. You draw halos on your own reflection, looking for flaws in the humankind. It's getting so perfection of mind. What is the break? Is it every fracture, every scar, a secret desire? What if the truth is kinder than standards? You come in lights across your sky. Measure your thoughts like lines on a page, straight edges, sharp corners, every doubt in a cage, polished replies tucked under your tongue. You practice compassion till your heartbeat runs, chasing that symmetry inside. Every angle in your head. You want the beauty and the justice, the steady hand and the open mind. You're drawing halos on your own reflection, looking for flaws in the humankind. Perfection of mind. Catalogs in like stones in a jar. Forgiveness for others is easier by far. You iron your conscience flat on the floor, but all of your creases say you're something more. Chasing that symmetry inside. Every angle in your head. You want the beauty and the justice, the steady is in every fraction, every scar, a secret design. What if the truth is kinder than standards? You caught in glass across your
Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Art of Worldly Wisdom, hosted by candidate John Kitover, the 26th District. Hope you enjoy this reading of Balthasar Gracian's Eternal Wisdom. Weigh matters carefully and think hardest about those that matter most. Fools are lost by not thinking. They never conceive even half of the things, and because they do not perceive either the advantages or the harm, they do not apply any diligence. Some ponder things backward, paying much attention to what matters little, and little to what matters much. Many people never lose their heads, because they have none to lose. There are things we should consider very carefully and keep well rooted in our minds. The wise weigh everything. They delve into things that are especially deep or doubtful, and sometimes reflect that there is more than what occurs to them. They make reflection reach further than apprehension. Take the measure of your luck in order to act and in order to commit yourself. This matters more than identifying your predominant humor and understanding your physical makeup. It is foolish for a 40-year-old to ask Hippocrates for health, and even more foolish to ask Seneca for wisdom. It is a great art to govern fortune, either awaiting her, for she sometimes takes her time, or taking advantage of her, for she sometimes turns good, although you will never completely understand her inconsistent behavior. If she has favored you, proceed with boldness, for she often loves the daring, and like a dazzling woman, the young. If you are unlucky, act not. Withdraw and save yourself from failing twice. If you master her, you have taken a great step forward. Know what insinuation is and how to use it. It is the subtlest point in your dealings with others. It can be used to test the wits and cunningly probe the heart. Some insinuation is malicious, careless, tinged with the herbs of envy, smeared with the poison of passion, an invisible lightning bolt that can knock you from grace and esteem. Some people owe their downfall to a single wounding, insinuating word. Those who expelled them from power showed not the slightest fear before an entire conspiracy of common murmuring and singular malevolence. Other insinuations, favorable ones, do the opposite, shoring up our reputation. But we should catch these darts as skillfully as they were hurled at us by evil intention, catch them carefully, await them prudently. A good defense requires knowledge. When we expect a blow, we can ward it off. Quit while you're ahead. All the best gamblers do. A fine retreat matters as much as a stylish attack. As soon as they are enough, even when they are many, cash in your deeds. A long run of good fortune is always suspicious. You're safer when good luck alternates with bad, and besides, that makes for bittersweet enjoyment. When luck comes racing in on us, it is more likely to slip and smash everything to pieces. Sometimes Lady Luck compensates us, trading intensity for duration. She grows tired when she has to carry someone on her back for a long time. Know when things are at their acme, when they are ripe, and know how to take advantage of them. All works of nature reach the point of full perfection before they were gaining from them on waning. As for works of art, only rarely can they not be improved. People with good taste know how to enjoy each thing when it reaches perfection. Not everyone can. And not everyone who can knows how. Even the fruits of the understanding attain this ripeness, but you must know it in order to value and use it. Grace in dealing with others. Oh, yeah. It is a great thing to win universal admiration, but even greater to win benevolence. Part of it is having a lucky star, but diligence is more important. One begins with the former and carries through with the latter. It isn't enough to be eminently gifted, though people often suppose it is easy to win affection when one has a reputation. Benevolence depends on beneficence. Do all sorts of good words and better deeds. Love if you would be loved. Courtesy is the way great people bewitch others. Reach for deeds and then for the pen. From the sword to the pen, for there is also grace among writers, and it is eternal. Never exaggerate. It isn't wise to use superlatives. They offend the truth and cast doubt on your judgment. By exaggerating, you squander your praise and reveal a lack of knowledge and taste. Praise awakens curiosity, which begets desire, and latter, when the goods seem overpriced, as often happens, expectations feels cheated and avenges itself by running down the praised and the praiser. The prudent show restraint and would rather fall short than long. True eminences are rare, so temper your esteem. To overvalue something is a form of lying. It can ruin your reputation for good taste, and even worse, for wisdom. Born to rule, it is a secret, superior force. It doesn't spring from bothersome artifice, but from a nature born to rule. Everyone succumbs to such a person without knowing why. Recognizing the secret strength and vigor of innate authority. People like this have a lordly character. Kings by merit, lions by natural right. They seize the respect, the heart, and even the minds of others. When blessed with other gifts, they are born to be political prime movers. They can accomplish more with a single fainting gesture than others can with a long harangue. Feel with the few, speak with the many. Rowing against the current makes it impossible to discover the truth and is extremely dangerous. Only Socrates could attempt it. Dissent is taken as insult, for it condemns the judgment of others. Many take offense, whether on account of the person criticized or the one who applauded him. The truth belongs to the few. Deceit is as common as it is vulgar. You can never tell the wise by what they say in public. They speak not in their own voices, but in that of common stupidity, though deep inside they are cursing it. The sensible person avoids both being contradicted and contradicting others. He may be quick to censure, but he is slow to do so in public. Feelings are free, they cannot and should not be violated. They live in silent retirement and show themselves only to a few sensible people. Sympathy with the great. One of the gifts of the hero is the ability to dwell with heroes. This ability, called sympathy, is a wonder of nature. Both because it is so mysterious and because it is so beneficial. There are similar hearts and temperaments, and the effects of sympathy resemble those which vulgar ignorance attributes to magic potions. Not only can this sympathy help us win renown, it inclines others towards us and quickly wins their goodwill. It persuades without words, achieves without merit. There is active and passive sympathy, and both kinds work wonders among people in high positions. It takes great skill to know them, distinguish between them, take advantage of them. No amount of effort can take the place of this mysterious favor. Use but don't abuse hidden intentions, and above all, don't reveal them. All art must be concealed, for it rouses suspicion, especially hidden intentions which are hateful. Deceit is common, so be on your guard, but hide your caution from others so as not to lose their confidence. When it becomes known, caution offends others and provokes vengeance, awakening unimagined evils. A reflective way of doing things will give you a great advantage. Nothing provides more food for thought. The greatest perfection of an action depends upon the mastery with which it is carried out. Temper your antipathy. We hate some people instinctively, but even before we are aware of the good qualities. And sometimes this vulgar natural aversion is directed towards the eminent. Let prudence keep it in check. There is nothing more demeaning than to abhor the best people. It is as excellent to get along with heroes as it is disgraceful to treat them with antipathy. Avoid committing yourself to risky enterprises. This is one of the chief goals of prudence. People of great talent keep well away from extremities. There is a long way to walk from one extreme to another, and the prudent stick to the middle ground. Only after long deliberation do they decide to act, for it is easier to hide oneself from danger than to overcome it. Dangerous situations place our judgment in jeopardy, and it is safer to flee from them entirely. One danger leads to another, greater one, and brings us to the edge of disaster. Some people are rash because of their temperament and their national origin, and they are quick to commit themselves and place others in danger. But the person who walks sizes up the situation and sees that there is more courage in avoiding danger than in conquering it. He sees that there is already one rash fool and avoids adding another. You are as much a real person as you are deep. As with the depths of a diamond, the interior is twice as important as the surface. There are people who are all facade, like a house left unfinished when the funds run out. They have the entrance of a palace, but the inner rooms of a cottage. These people have no place you can rest, though they are always at rest. For once they get through the first salutations, the conversation is over. They prance through the initial courtesies like Sicilian stallions, but immediately lapse into monkish silence. Words dry up when not refreshed by perennial springs of wit. Such people easily fool those who see things superficially, but not the sharp-sighted, who look inside them and find only emptiness. A person of sharp observation and sound judgment rules over objects and keeps objects from ruling him. He plumbs the greatest depths and studies the anatomies of other people's talent. No sooner does he see someone than he has understood him and judged his essence. With rare powers of observation, he deciphers even what is most hidden. He observes sternly, conceives subtly, reasons judiciously. There is nothing he cannot discover, notice, grasp, understand. Never lose your self-respect or grow too familiar with yourself. Let your own integrity keep you righteous. You should owe more to the severity of your own judgment than to all external precepts. Avoid what is indecorous, not because others will judge you harshly, but because you fear your own prudence. Grow to fear yourself, and you will have no need of Seneca's imaginary witness. Subnote, your own conscience. Gracian is alluding to one of Seneca's moral epistles. Know how to choose. Most things in life depend on it. You need good taste and an upright judgment. Intelligence and application are not enough. There is no perfection without discernment and selection. Two talents are involved, choosing and choosing the best. There are many people with a fertile, subtle intelligence, rigorous judgment, both diligent and well-informed, who are lost when they have to choose. They always choose the worst, as though they wanted to show the skill at doing so. Knowing how to choose is one of heaven's greatest gifts. Never lose your composure. Prudence tries never to lose control. This shows a real person with a true heart. For magnanimity is slow to give into emotion. The passions are the humors of the mind, and the least excess sickens our judgment. If the disease spreads to your mouth, your reputation will be in danger. Master yourself thoroughly, and no one will criticize you for being perturbed. Either when things are at the best or at the worst, fool will admire your superiority. Be diligent and intelligent. Diligence is quick to carry out what intelligence has lingered over. Fools are fond of hurry. They take no heed of obstacles and act incautiously. The wise usually fail through hesitation. Fools stop at nothing. The wise at everything. Sometimes things are judged correctly but go wrong out of inefficiency and neglect. Readiness is the mother of luck. It is a great deed to leave nothing for the morrow. A lofty motto. Make haste slowly. Act boldly but prudently. Even hares tweak the beard of a dead lion. Like love, courage is no joking matter. If it yields once, it will have to yield again and again. The same difficulty will have to be conquered later on, and it would have been better to get it over with. The mind is bolder than the body. So with the sword, let it be sheathed in prudence, ready for the occasion. It is your defense. A weak spirit does more harm than a weak body. Many people with eminent qualities lacked this brio, appeared to be dead, and were buried in their lassitude. Provident nature resourcefully joined the sweetness of honey with the sting of the bee. You have both nerves and bones in your body. Don't let your spirit be all softness. Know how to wait. It shows a great heart with deep reserves of patience. Never hurry and never give way to your emotions. Master yourself, and you will master others. Stroll through the open spaces of time to the center of opportunity. Wise hesitation ripens success and brings secrets to maturity. The crutch of time can do more than the steely club of Hercules. God himself punishes not with iron hands, but with leaden feet. A wonderful saying. Time and I can take on any two. Fortune gives larger rewards to those who wait. Think on your feet. Good impulses spring from a happy readiness of spirit. For such a spirit there are no tight spots, no troubling chance occurrences, only vivacity and brio. Some think much and then do everything wrong, and others get everything right without any forethought at all. Some people have reserves of antiperistasis, subnote, antiperistasis, opposition, by which the quality opposed acquires strength. Difficulties bring out the best in them. They are monsters who succeed spontaneously and err whenever they have thought about something. What doesn't occur to them immediately will never occur to them, and there is no use thinking about latter. Quickness wins applause, for it reveals prodigious talent, subtlety in thought, prudence in deeds. Okay, those are 56 oracles from Balthasar Gracian, The Art of Worldly Wisdom. I'm going to put some music on now. I hope you enjoy it. This music was inspired from the reading. Let me play a different one. Here we go. This is called Breath of Better Days.
Inhale, slow and steady, counting colors, heart so ready. One breath in, all my anger leaving. One breath out, I forgive my grieving. Tiny truths flicker in my chest. I am not my worst mistake. I am every honest step. Feel the rib cage rise. Let the old hurt slide. Every exhale writes a softer story inside. I'm breathing the person I'm becoming. I'm breathing the weight of yesterday. Reflections just the room I've been running. I traded for a kinder way. Eyes closed, but the future's clearer. Quiet voice speaking in the mirror. I'm enough, learning how that feels. Every flaw missed in peace, in a heart that heals. Feel the rib cage rise, let the harsh words slide. Every exhale writes a deadly truth on my mind. I'm breathing the person I'm becoming. I'm breathing the weight of yesterday. Reflections just feel it rise. A little storm in my chest, soft rain in my eyes. Let it out like you're laying down stones. Every fear, every fall, leaving your home. In 4-4, hold the sky out for 6, let it fly. Every time you breathe, you come back to life. Perfect on the exhale, perfect when you shake. Every tiny fraction, part of what you make. Slow breathing, counting, feel it rise. Little storm in my chest, soft rain in my eyes. Let it out, like you're laying down stones. Every fear, every fall, leaving your bones. In 4-4, hold the sky out for 6, let it fly. Every time you come back to life. Perfect on the exhale, perfect when you shake. Every tiny fracture, part of what you make. Perfect in the trembling. Slow breath in, old wounds fade. Hands on heart, hear what stays. You are the question, you are the guide. All of the ages look through your eyes. Eternal wisdom, burning calm inside my chest. Eternal wisdom holds my fear, forgives the rest. Love in every atom, intelligence in every sigh. Eternal wisdom, I remember I am. Storms keep talking, let them speak. Under the thunder, something serene. I touch the silence, it knows my name. Nothing is missing, nothing to chase. Eternal